In this talk, we're going to focus more on the reliability, availability, and serviceability that Power brings to the table, which gives it its best quality of service for customers. And I'll start by showing again a recent report from ITIC, which is an analyst who reports on best availability, reliability, and for the fourth year in a row, IBM Power with AIX shows up as having at least twice as much availability as any Intel server does. And the reason for that is that the Power RAS strategy is built on a stack. We're able to control reliability, availability, and serviceability throughout the entire platform, which starts at the planar board, the Power CPU, up through the firmware, up through the hypervisor, Power VM, into the operating system, and into the software above that. That cannot be said for the Intel platform, which only controls reliability, availability, and serviceability at the chip level, and that's all they can control. So again, this is one of the reasons why RAS is so high, availability is so high for the Power stack. Another clear reason why it's so much better is we have many more what we call checkers that are constantly polling the status of every single component in the stack and reporting that back to what we call the service processor. And to give you some idea here, we're listing the number of checkers that we have out there. And for the Power 795, we have over 598,000 checkers checking on every possible component in the Power 795 system. Now compare that number to about 5,000, which is the most number of checkers that any Intel server has right now. That's a huge difference. The other difference we have is the ability to handle transient errors. If you have more checkers, you can react to the transient errors that occur. What's a transient error? Well, a lot of times we don't know what it is. It could be gamma radiation. It could be any kind of environmental effect that's affecting the actual Power chip itself or the Intel chip itself. And as we increase the number of transistors, the effect of transient errors goes up exponentially. So it's very important to be able to handle these transient errors. Now on this next chart, you can see that we're constantly checking for transient errors, and we put our Power systems through very, very stringent tests. In this test, which is kind of an interesting test, we actually bombarded a Power 780 with over 720 billion high-energy protons. That essentially equaled 1,000 years of transient errors, all compressed into a very small period of time. And the key point here is the service processor with all of our checkers handled each and every one of those 26,000 transient errors. The system never went down. We also looked at this against Intel, and what we can see from this chart is that the proton beam experiment shows 0 errors for the Power system, but we show lots of errors for the Intel system. And in this case, we had over 200 crashes on the Intel system. Last, I'd like to point out that even with all this reliability built in, we even have higher RAS features for the enterprise Power servers. Everything is redundant, including the service processor itself, the system clock, the power and the cooling, and the active memory mirroring. Last point to make is in 2011 in Tokyo, this was the IBM data center, which had over 4 Power servers. These were large enterprise servers that were completely knocked over in the earthquake, and there was no service disruption. They were still running at the end of the day.